Rory McIlroy became easier to understand once other players stopped talking about his golf swing and started talking about the pressure around him, because at this point, nobody debates the talent anymore. That conversation ended years ago. What makes Rory interesting now is how differently players describe him depending on the situation. Some describe him like the most gifted player of his generation. Others describe someone carrying pressure so heavily that it changes the way he acts during tournaments. And honestly, one of the most revealing Rory clips has nothing to do with winning.
No idea. Didn't talk to me once all day.
What was the atmosphere like at everything?
Electric, I loved it, but he was just like, just being focused, I guess. So, it's not me, though.
That line sounds small, but it explains a lot. Bryson wasn't saying Rory was rude. He was describing what Rory becomes under pressure. Quiet, locked in, almost isolated. And that side of Rory became more visible every year. The Masters kept slipping away from him. Because the strange thing is, long before Rory finally won Augusta, players already talked about him like someone who should have done it years ago.
You know, I never want to speak out of turn about other players. I still believe from everything that I've experienced since I've been playing that Rory is the best of our generation.
That kind of praise sounds positive, but over time it creates something dangerous. Expectation stops feeling temporary. It becomes permanent. Every season starts carrying the same question. Not can Rory win the Masters, but why hasn't he already? And eventually, even the biggest names in golf started saying it publicly.
Rory's too talented, too good, and he's going to be playing this event for a very long time. Rory will be a great Masters champion one day, and it could be this week. You never know.
That's when pressure changes shape completely. Because when Tiger Woods says something like that, it stops sounding like encouragement. It starts sounding inevitable. And for Rory, inevitability became the burden. What made it harder is that people around Rory could also see how much those moments affected him emotionally. Outside tournaments, players describe someone completely different.
We're good for each other. Like Rory's obviously, he's very serious about his golf. He works very hard, and I've seen that over the years. And I think I've brought some of that into my game. And then, he sees the way I am, and he kind of brings some of that into himself. So I feel like we're very good for each other. And we go away, we play tournaments. The odd time we play against each other on Sundays. The last time was Sunday at Pebble this year. He beat me, so I was obviously pissed off at that. And I had to pretend to be happy for him. I did, because he was giving me a lift home.
That's a very different image from the isolated competitor Bryson described. Around friends, Rory looks relaxed, funny, normal, which almost made the pressure side of him feel more dramatic when it appeared. You could tell tournaments like Augusta changed him mentally before they even started, and over time, something interesting happened. Players stopped respecting Rory only because of how good he was. They started respecting him because he kept coming back into the same pressure repeatedly.
Turn off, or you can't discount them, because just when you think they're out of the race, they roar back into it again. And Rory does that better than anybody in the modern game. And I said it in commentary as well. His resilience in the big picture of his career, because he's, the point we made just a few moments ago too. He's had a lot of disappointments too. People think that it was always been success for Rory. With the career that he's had, the wins that he's had in the last 10 years. The opportunities to win major championships that he didn't take, the criticism that came his way, particularly when he lost to Bryson, and what everybody calling him a choker and he'd never win again. And on social media, the pile-on was just embarrassing how bad it was, for considering how great a player he was. To come back then, a mere 4, 5, 6 months later, and win the way he did at Augusta was just incredible.
That might actually be the most accurate description of Rory's career. Not talented, resilient. Because talent was obvious from the beginning. Resilience only became obvious after the failures. Every year, Augusta became heavier, and every year he still walked back into it carrying all the previous scars with him. And when the win finally happened, the reaction from golf didn't feel normal. It didn't feel like people were celebrating another major championship. It felt like relief.
I mean, I think the human element, Sarah Jane, is what brought people into it. They all know the trials and tribulation that Rory has had in the last couple of years in these major championships, and the near misses he's had, and the opportunities that he's let slip through his fingers. So they were bought in from that, and like a Hollywood movie, everybody loves a redemption story and a comeback story.
That's why Rory's Masters win felt bigger emotionally than most career Grand Slams usually do. Fans weren't just watching achievement anymore. They were watching release. More than a decade of expectation disappearing in one moment. And after that, something else changed. The pressure Rory carried for years suddenly became motivation for everybody else.
It is. I mean, obviously, Rory winning the Grand Slam was huge. It was it was inspiring to me. I mean, obviously, it's not like I didn't realize I wanted to win a Grand Slam before that, but it is even more motivating.
That clip matters because it shows how players saw Rory's win differently from the public. Fans saw history. Players saw endurance. They saw how long someone could carry expectation before finally breaking through. But even after completing the Grand Slam, Rory still feels strangely difficult for people to define. One moment he looks emotionally disconnected during competition. The next moment, other players describe him like the center of modern European golf.
He's the biggest name we have in Europe. He's the better player we have in Europe, and he's definitely the biggest presence, and that's his role now, right? So he's gone from obviously being an incredible good player to a great Ryder Cup player to now being I would say the cornerstone the Team Europe needs. So it's special to have him there.
That's a huge statement coming from Rahm because it goes beyond golf ability. He's talking about emotional presence, leadership, identity. And that's why Rory's career has always felt more complicated than simple wins and losses. Different players seem to experience completely different versions of him depending on the moment they meet him. And now there's a new question around Rory that didn't exist before. What happens after the chase is over?
I don't think that Rory's necessarily lost his form as he's lost his focus. I think there's this huge sense of accomplishment. It's not unique to golf. We see it in the arts and other sports where somebody climbs that mountain and they realize, they lose their focus, they lose the sort of creativity and the inspiration that it took to achieve what they did, and they struggle to find it again. And it's a very small sample size thus far. It's just 3 or 4 tournaments for Rory, but I've never seen him play this poorly. I've never seen him look this disorganized. He's never had a tournament where he played as bad as he did at the Canadian Open, his last.
That's fascinating, because for years, Rory's entire story pointed toward Augusta. Every season, every conversation, every failure eventually circled back there. The pursuit became part of his identity. Now that it's finished, people are trying to figure out who Rory McIlroy becomes without that weight attached to him anymore. And honestly, that might be the first completely new chapter of his career in a very long time.